Have you ever celebrated something important, only to leave the conversation feeling strangely disappointed? They smiled. They congratulated you. They even told you they were happy for you. Nothing they said was openly cruel. Nothing sounded offensive. And yet, hours later, you found yourself replaying every word, wondering why their support felt so empty. It is one of the strangest experiences in human relationships. Sometimes the people who seem closest to us are also the hardest to read. They don't criticize us directly. They don't argue. They don't walk away. Instead, something shifts beneath the surface. Their warmth becomes inconsistent. Their excitement feels rehearsed. Their encouragement leaves behind an unexpected feeling that something wasn't quite genuine. So what happened? Psychology offers an interesting possibility. One of the most misunderstood emotions isn't anger, fear, or even hatred. It's jealousy. Not the dramatic jealousy portrayed in movies, where people openly compete or confess their envy. Real jealousy is usually much quieter. In many cases, the person experiencing it isn't fully aware of it themselves. It often grows from comparison, a deeply human tendency to measure our lives against the people around us. Sometimes those comparisons motivate us. Other times, they quietly become discomfort, resentment, or emotional distance. That doesn't make someone a bad person. It makes them human. And that's why recognizing jealousy is so difficult. No single behavior proves another person's feelings. Someone may seem distant because they're overwhelmed, grieving, exhausted, or fighting a battle you'll never see. Context always matters. The goal isn't to judge people or assume the worst. The goal is simply to notice patterns. Because patterns tell stories that isolated moments never can. Imagine two friends. For years, they celebrated everything together. New jobs. Birthdays. Small victories that most people would ignore. Their friendship seemed effortless. Then one of them began changing. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no argument. No betrayal. No obvious reason for distance. The only difference was that one person's life slowly began moving forward. A promotion. A healthier relationship. New opportunities. Greater confidence. And strangely, the friendship began feeling heavier. At first, the changes were almost impossible to notice. Every achievement was still acknowledged. But the excitement disappeared. Instead of asking questions, they changed the subject. Instead of sharing your happiness, they spoke about their own frustrations. Instead of celebrating the moment, they explained why your success probably wasn't as impressive as it seemed. None of these reactions sounded openly hostile. In fact, if someone else had overheard the conversation, they might have thought everything sounded perfectly normal. But emotional communication isn't only about words. Psychologists have long understood that human beings communicate through tone, timing, facial expressions, attention, and emotional consistency. Long before our conscious minds process language, our brains begin noticing whether another person's emotional response matches the situation. That's why something can feel wrong even when nothing sounds wrong. One of the earliest patterns often appears in moments that should naturally bring people together. You share exciting news. Perhaps you finally achieved a goal that took years to accomplish. Maybe you found a relationship that brings you peace. Maybe you've overcome something deeply personal that nobody else fully understood. You expect joy. Instead, you're met with hesitation. There's a pause. Just long enough to notice. Then comes the response. Oh. That's great. The words arrive. The emotion doesn't. Almost immediately, the conversation shifts away from your achievement. Suddenly they're talking about someone else's success. or their own struggles, or the reasons your accomplishment probably came down to luck, timing, or circumstances. Once again, none of these reactions automatically mean jealousy. Everyone has difficult days. Everyone occasionally struggles to celebrate while carrying their own disappointments. But when this becomes the normal response every time your life improves, psychology suggests something deeper may be happening. Your success has unintentionally become a comparison they never wanted to make. And comparison changes perception. The interesting thing about comparison is that it rarely stays inside a person's mind. Eventually, it begins shaping the way they speak. Compliments become unusually complicated. "You actually handled that really well. I didn't think you'd get that opportunity. I guess everything worked out for you." At first glance, these sound encouraging. But hidden inside each sentence is a subtle reduction of the achievement itself. Researchers sometimes describe this kind of communication as mixed messaging, positive language combined with quiet devaluation. The praise is real enough to avoid conflict, but just limited enough to soften the emotional impact of your success. Healthy encouragement leaves people feeling seen. Mixed encouragement often leaves them feeling confused. That's why backhanded compliments are so memorable. Hours later, you're still asking yourself the same question. Were they complimenting me? Or criticizing me? Confusion is rarely accidental. Our minds naturally search for consistency between words and emotions. When they don't match, we continue replaying the interaction, trying to resolve the contradiction. Sometimes there isn't one. Sometimes the contradiction exists because another emotion was hiding underneath the conversation all along. As comparison quietly grows, another pattern often follows. Your failures suddenly become unforgettable. Think about how genuine relationships usually work. When someone you care about makes a mistake, you acknowledge it, help them recover, and eventually move forward. You don't keep returning to it. Yet certain people seem strangely fascinated by your setbacks. You forget something important. They remember it months later. You make an awkward mistake. It somehow becomes a recurring joke. You experience one disappointing failure. They bring it up whenever your confidence begins returning. Psychologists call this selective attention. People naturally notice information that supports the beliefs or emotions they already carry. If someone unconsciously feels threatened by your growth, your mistakes become emotionally comforting. They restore a sense of balance. They remind them that perhaps you aren't doing quite as well as everyone believes. Most of the time, they don't even realize they're doing it. Their attention simply begins gravitating toward the evidence that makes comparison feel less painful. And before long, those private comparisons begin escaping into conversations with other people. The conversations rarely begin with obvious criticism. Instead, they begin with uncertainty. "I don't know. Maybe they've changed. They've been getting a lot of attention lately. I just hope success doesn't go to their head." Notice what these statements have in common. They don't accuse. They don't attack. They simply introduce doubt. Psychology suggests that indirect communication can be a way people express uncomfortable emotions without confronting them directly. If someone feels threatened by another person's progress, subtle suggestions often feel safer than open hostility. Again, none of this proves jealousy. Context matters. People speculate. They misread situations. They repeat rumors without malicious intent. But when these comments consistently appear alongside the other patterns you've already noticed, they deserve thoughtful attention, not immediate judgment. Then something even quieter begins to happen. The relationship changes with your circumstances. When life is difficult, they seem closer than ever. They answer your calls. They check on you. They have endless time to listen. But when things finally begin going well, when you find confidence, happiness, or success, they slowly disappear. Not dramatically. Almost invisibly. Messages become shorter. Plans become harder to make. The excitement that once existed quietly fades. It seems contradictory, but psychology offers a simple explanation. People often feel most comfortable in relationships where the emotional balance remains familiar. If someone's sense of self has become tied to feeling more accomplished, more stable, or more needed than someone else, your growth can unintentionally disrupt that balance. The final pattern is perhaps the most revealing because it isn't found in words at all. It's found in relief. Imagine telling someone that an opportunity didn't work out. The promotion went to someone else. The relationship ended. The dream you've spent months chasing suddenly disappears. For a brief moment, sometimes no longer than a second, the tension leaves their face. Their voice becomes lighter. The conversation suddenly feels easier. It isn't necessarily because they wanted you to fail. It's because your disappointment removed a comparison they had quietly been carrying. That fleeting sense of relief may be the most honest emotion they've shown all along. And yet, even here, caution matters. No single reaction can reveal another person's heart. Human beings are wonderfully complicated. We all experience emotions we'd never choose to feel. Jealousy is one of them. So are insecurity, shame, regret, and self-doubt. Feeling envy doesn't automatically make someone cruel. What matters is what they choose to do with those feelings. Some people recognize their jealousy, confront it honestly, and allow it to become admiration instead. Others never acknowledge it. They simply let it reshape their relationships, one small interaction at a time. Perhaps that's the real lesson. This video was never about teaching you to expose jealous people. It was about helping you understand why certain relationships leave you feeling consistently uncertain while others leave you feeling safe enough to grow. The healthiest relationships don't require you to question whether your happiness is making someone uncomfortable. They don't celebrate only when you're struggling. They don't quietly diminish your victories to protect their own self-worth. They remind you that your growth is not a threat. It is something worth celebrating together. So if these patterns reminded you of someone, resist the temptation to label them. Instead, pay attention over time. Stay curious. Communicate when appropriate. Protect your emotional well-being without assuming you can see into another person's mind. Because in the end, jealousy almost never announces itself. It hides inside comparisons. Inside hesitation. Inside applause that somehow feels empty. But genuine support has a different feeling. It doesn't make you question the room after you leave it. It doesn't force you to replay conversations searching for hidden meanings. It allows you to celebrate without guilt. To succeed without apology. And to become more of yourself without wondering who secretly wishes you wouldn't. Maybe that's the simplest difference of all. The people who truly care about your growth never feel smaller because you became bigger. They simply stand beside you and smile for real.